Ναι, εκεί. Ladies and gentlemen, kalimera, good morning. We start with the second day, parallel to the hackathon. Don't know if you had the time to have a look what the kind of high competition is going to be there. It's a surprise to see also young students of the elementary school trying to compete with professionals in this domain. It's amazing. They insist to be included in the advanced group of competitors. Our first session here, it's all about the data acquisition. Data acquisition, why data acquisition and not digitization? Because it has been several times mentioned that the time of, at the beginning of the 21st digital century, the challenge that we have on that time period is to try holistically to capture whatever is possible from an object, from a monument, from a tangible asset. And it's not only the 3D. To the 3D belongs something else. It's the story, it's the knowledge, it's the memory. It's the part of the identity. And here is where we, at least from the point of Cyprus, we see a big challenge, not a problem. The problem comes later, but first is the challenge. The challenge is that, first of all, to be honest to you, and nobody wants to listen or to hear about that, is there are no standards to prove that this what you acquired at the end of the day has a certain level of quality. It is somehow accredited or certified, at least, by the owner, that this what you have as a result of your data acquisition mission, campaign, has a certain value so far as quality concerned. Number one. Number two, whoever wants to digitize today, whoever wants to document today is also able via the different kind of aggregators to harvest content in Europeana. The 3D content available in Europeana is good, but based on the evaluation scale that we have also very good, we have also excellent, and we have also outstanding. And we need to decide if and in case we want to digitize, then to sit down and we say, who I am digitizing, and that's the main scope here today. And if I know who I am digitizing, how, who, when, where, with whom, and so on, okay? So, to keep it short, we digitize, and that is a part of the memory, is a part of the knowledge. And we start here with a very, very good presentation coming from a distinguished scientist, Professor Emeritus Antonia Moropoulou, which is all about towards a holistic approach in the area of digitization from her expertise of at least 40 years activity in this domain, having in mind that she was the engineer in place to do one of the greatest ever digitizations or data acquisitions in the world, 10 years ago, isn't it, Tonia? 10 years ago. And about that, she's going to talk in her presentation, I'm sure. And once again, Tonia, thank you very much for coming here, for sharing your knowledge with us, and wishing a very fruitful and productive day today. Floor is yours,
Good morning,
Tonia.
everybody.
If you can say also a few words about yourself, from where you are coming, and all this as an introduction. This is also to all the speakers, but I will introduce you also somehow.
Thank you, Marinos, for inviting me. You know, I'm coming to Cyprus many years ago because we are almost a common country. However, since 2012, when Marinos insisted on digital heritage, I was here, and of course, I was responsible for introducing him into cultural heritage preservation story at 2003, when I invited him to Athens. But it seems that this was merging successfully, because when I was invited by Patriarch Theophilos, the Greek Orthodox Patriarch in Jerusalem, to undertake the responsibility for diagnosis and afterwards for the work of rehabilitation of the Holy Edicule in the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem, then I said to myself, now we have to manage all these data within a few months, actually. I mean, I had to perform with the study within the months of spring 2015 and January 2016, and then the work within 8 months and a half between two Eastern, and delivered it at March 2022. So the digital acquisition of various data from various disciplines, as you will see, was an urgent necessity, and the digital background was the only way to merge and manage them in a meaningful way, to plan the work of rehabilitation and control the quality of this work in real time and real scale. And that was, you know, a responsibility where no chance for failure was at any possibility. So it's a very modest presentation, because I'd like to focus on the questions you are discussing, and not at the great issues of the values we were dealing with. But this is an issue too. And when I'm endorsing memory twins and mnemosini, what is the venture that Marinos is taking on with many of you, I'm thinking of values as well. Memory is not only history, it's values in our case. So the diagnostic study we performed was aiming to be an interdisciplinary study, accomplishing architectural, geometric, structural documentation with characterization of building materials, the diagnosis of decay and pathology of the structure, along with the assessment of the current state against static and seismic loads. And at the level of the proposal, it was not only a merging of interdisciplinary data it was a procedure of dialogue as well, since we had to convince the three Christian communities, the Orthodox, the Catholic, the Custos of the Holy Land, of the Franciscan Order, and the Armenian one. Three communities that did not speak one to the other for 2 centuries at least. So you might understand that the challenges we had to address were not only technical, and apart from digitization, which was an utmost need in order to perform content management interdisciplinary, we had the need to explain, how to explain to the three Christian communities and to the Patriarch and the Custos. So visualization was another tool we developed, and that was served and facilitated by the 3D representation of the monument. First of all, we had to study the inside before dismantling the marbles of the outer surface of the Holy Edicule. And in order to do so, we had to use non-destructive techniques. Mostly ground-penetrating radar permitted us to see the Holy Rock where the tomb of Christ was elaborated, and you might see here in this yellow color and the historic measures of various periods from Constantine the Great, Byzantine period, the Crusaders period, the Renaissance, and then the Baroque period of the last restoration of the Holy Edicule by Kalfas Komninos Mytilineos, 1808 after Christ, which was the restoration which we received at hands, and we went on with the National Technical University of Athens. So you can understand that all this data handled on the level of the 3D representation by LiDAR from the School of Surveying Engineers, Professor Georgopoulos. You have seen the names of the interdisciplinary team of the NTUA that I have composed in order to work at all levels with these issues. So that's the 3D representation of the burial surface and the Holy Rock, and that's the only way that permitted us, actually the 3D support of the handling of the data, to design and quantify materials and rehabilitation interventions in order to perform the work within 8 months, actually. So that was the first time ever that happened, and it was not easy. However, the geometric documentation and the 3D representation, along with materials data, the architectural documentation, and the structural documentation, permitted us to assess the structural destruction of the integrity of the Holy Edicule, here in red at the finite element modeling, and promote the design and the compatible materials to the right in blue for structural integrity of the Holy Edicule. Of course, the know-how and the capabilities that were merged from all scientific fields were not only engineering, because we had to include archaeological data, findings, materials as well, since all this work had not only the aim of rehabilitating the structural integrity, but had the aim to respect the values and reveal the values of resurrection of this unique monument. So you may understand that we are not speaking only of interdisciplinarity, handling together modeling, analytical techniques, and it is. We are speaking of history and values that had to be undertaken into consideration. And this was in agreement not only on the level of an integrated management with the participation of the three Christian communities, but in discussion with all the world, because when we performed the work stage, apart from the responsibility to handle the iterative process of the main stages of rehabilitation, like dismantling and removing the stone panels, repairing and reconstructing partially the masonries inside, injecting grouts to unify the structure, resetting and anchoring the exterior columns, reassembling the stone panels, resetting and anchoring the internal columns, and finally conserving the onion dome, the dome of the chapel, of the angel, the tomb of the burial chapel, and then repointing and finishing, cleaning and protecting the surfaces. We had to control the quality of all these interventions in real scale, real time, inform the three leaders of the Christian community so that they would understand what is happening and they would give their approval for the next step. And that means all this data of non-destructive testing on site and of modeling and remodeling, all the data on the 3D level, which was enriched by new surfaces that we were intervening every time, meant that we had to work at an integrated platform with all this data, a platform which would be of a data retrieval from specific areas, but would permit, and we promoted this through a research program in Greece, we would go to the content-based management through semantic data integration, which would permit us to support scientifically decision-making on site. This is not an easy thing, because if you can think that every month we had to present our assessment to the three leaders of the Christian churches and go on for the next month, you will understand that this holistic approach was a very difficult approach. However, from this holistic platform that we developed, of course, everything here is an interdisciplinary effort here with the school of with people from the School of Stefanos Kollias, the School of Electrical Engineering and Informatics, Professor Doulamis and Professor Kyriazis. We performed not only the raw data content-based management, but a relational database applying AI, deep learning from the data, the very many data we had at hands from the non-destructive testing. And that gave to us the capability to interpret the results of the non-destructive testing which is a problem. As Marinos Ioannidis said, we don't have standards. We have standards to measure, but we don't have standards to interpret. That means that if we have real data from the monument on the grassroots, not the digital twin from the top, but what we are working on, then we can interpret this data because we are deeply learning from them on the semantic level. And that's why we were able to go to a proposal which is now pending for the visualization of results, not only per point, which we were using in order to inform and convince the three Christian leaders, but per texture mapping, which is another level. And this is necessary as well, because this is the real holistic on the surface. And to Epithea, working for the behavior prediction, not only by digital twins and memory twins, but for project and design management, upgrading the HBIM, which is a European effort for many years. We were working with Marinos and Roberto Di Giulio for many years through Inception. But we have to go farther, because if not a real work data is not included, you cannot go on with engineering management. So we are today working within Evlogon, which is a project for a methodological standardizing this interdisciplinary and actually transdisciplinary approach. Evlogon is based on the know-how of NTUA under my leadership. NTUA interdisciplinary teams works on Hagia Sophia for earthquake protection, in Holy Sepulchre for the rehabilitation of the Holy Edicule, and some pilot Byzantine monuments in Greece in order to pilot reproducing this methodology. That means we are now accomplishing the data repository of all these cases. We are disseminating and critically discussing at a national network of all professionals the methodology and the standardization, and we are going to the standardization in Greece and in international bodies. We are disseminating, and we are ready to cooperate with you in a competence center if the European goes on within it. And if not, I had suggested yesterday to the Intra-Parliamentary Forum of the Southeastern Europe to perform one here, because in this area of the world, we have to include the conflicts as well. It's not only values and history. It's conflicts and dialogue which has to overcome the obstacles to protect cultural heritage. And of course, we have to include in this repository new model implementations in the way that we standardize the process by learning through new projects, and to perform the transdisciplinary dialogue with archaeometry, archaeology, archaeogenomics, history, theology, and sociology. Because the fact that monuments talk to billions of people, when we opened the Tomb of Christ, National Geographic, who brought the image to humanity, accounted for 3 billion viewers. If you take into consideration that Christians are only 2 billion in the 10 of the world, the 3 billions means that the messages of these emblematic monuments and on the fact that they are uniting people who are in conflict, like the three religions of Jerusalem, Judaism, Muslim, and Christianism, and the two people, the Israelis and the Palestinians, that was bringing hope to the world, like resurrection was bringing hope. So it seems that we have to use all this together, and through Evlogon, from the ecumenic level of the Patriarchate of Constantinople, Istanbul of today, we are working at the Technical Chamber of Greece, where I act as vice president as well, to discuss with all the engineering disciplines and further than that, how to standardize this methodology. We are now in this process, and you might visit Evlogon to look at that. And I'm taking the opportunity to invite you to come 14 to 16 of December in Athens, Greece, for the transdisciplinary multimodal cooperation concerning the cultural heritage preservation, which is an international conference we organize after 2017. We delivered the works for the Holy Edicule, and we are working in this direction. Could you please go on with the video? This is the video of a very short one, presenting the 3D modeling of the NTUA before and after the works. On that video, apart from AI applications within the platform, the holistic platform, we are working on the XR level, producing educational modules, which are tools for the education of various disciplines of engineers on the postgraduate level, in order to understand how to manage different levels on a content-based platform, and how to speak a common language. I would actually finish with that, digitization, 3D, AI, permit us not only to have a basis for a smart merging, but to articulate a common language. This is a challenge to address for tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very, very much, Tonia. That's data acquisition in cultural heritage. Parallel to this session is the hackathon running. A set of 3D objects was given to all the participants to start the competition, being engaged. Have you seen one object of that scale, of that value, of that level? This is a unique documentation, which I think, for all of us, lesson learned. It works. Data have been acquired and used by the multidisciplinary community, as it has to be when it comes to the use and reuse of data. That's all about. But here is also the challenge for one of the newly funded projects under the ECHO family, the Heritalize project. And here we have two of the partners, the coordinator, Miguel, and Alberto, Alberto is coming from a company which is well known worldwide. I can mention just only if the telescopes of NASA in Latin America needs to be calibrated, yeah? So then they ask the company to take care of that. So accuracy and precision is their specialty. So far as Miguel concerned, he is an architect. Miguel, here is a big challenge, and for both of you, for the project. Could you please take a position to that now, where we are, the state of the art, because it was a challenge here, yeah? And how now the project with 4 or 5 million euro finance can boost this data acquisition for the Horizon Europe and beyond, for the ecos, let's say. And you, as an architect, please, that will be nice, as a professional architect.
So, thanks, Tonia, for the presentation, because actually it engages me very much in our core business in IDP. We are an engineering services company in the end, and our core in terms of digitization is integrating heterogeneous data coming from external databases and sources, and integrating them into hopefully an HBeam GIS-based digital twin platform. And we talk a lot about HBeam models, but at least in Spain and I think in most Mediterranean countries, it's not a reality yet. And it's not a reality because we speak a lot about it. We all have digital twins suddenly, but then when you go into the world and start checking those digital twins, those HBeam models, many times they are crap, honestly. They are not well done. They have not the expected level of detail, level of accuracy, level of information. Many times you have the architectural models carried out by architects, the structural models carried out by structural engineers. You have the utilities, the mechanical, electrical, plumbing models done by other engineers, and then you put them together, and one is based in Spain and the other one is based in Italy. So they are not even considering the same geo-reference. So I'm just telling you quick examples of problems we face on a day-to-day basis, okay? And I'm not even going into how the assets, the objects, the building components, etc., are modeled. And that's why we need standards and methodologies and regulations really implying minimum level of requirements set out to be able to say, yes, this is a proper HBeam model or HBeam GIS model, and yes, this is a proper digital twin, and then going back to the data acquisition. And here my colleague Alberto from Technica is the lead partner in the data acquisition work package in Heritalize project. Then we have there's this pipeline with data acquisition, then data processing and post-processing supported by AI that shifts that into the next work package, which is led by IDP, which basically aims at integrating all of these models and data into this digital memory twin platform and making use of this data for CH services. So far we have 3D printing, we have AR, VR, XR, immersive experiences, we have preventive and predictive conservation and maintenance, and well, we are thinking also on a bunch of out-of-the-box services. So, and I think I'll give the floor now to Alberto, but we need to talk, and it's one of the main issues he's tackling, but we need to talk a lot about the expected and required levels of detail, level of information. Those are concepts really intrinsic with the BIM methodology and software tools, but also level of accuracy. And yeah, I think, Alberto, I give you the floor now.
I can continue, yeah. Well, I come from the metrology in the manufacturing industry, specifically from the metrology field of activity. And metrology is the science of measurements. We used to study on the fundamentals of a measurement instrument and how a measurement instrument should be considered and which are the error sources in a measuring instrument and how should be considered the quality of a measurement result. That's an issue that the science of measurements has been developing during the last decades, and it has already a name. It's measurement uncertainty. Well, there are lots of concepts coming from metrology industry that they are already there, and we could just have a look on them. But well, we have been discussing these days about high fidelity scanning